Check, check, 1, 2. This is Windpipe Audio coming live from Griffith Park. I'm your host, Aaron Bobrow. I'd like to welcome you guys to the verbal landscape of Windpipe. More will be disclosed, much will be discovered, and I hope to take you guys along on the ride. I'd like to welcome my guest, Rio Lakeshore.
Hello.
Thanks for being here today. What can you tell me about the first time you heard of Love Supreme by John Coltrane?
Whoa. First time would have, that's a hard one because it played periodically throughout my whole life. So, I could have heard it when I was an infant, but me actually remembering it would have had to have been in elementary school. Just the chant of a Love Supreme always felt so haunting at the time,
Did you grow up in a household where music was played often?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Every day.
Records?
More so the radio. There was a record player around for a bit, but music was on for everything my mom did or my grandparents did. So if there was a shower going, there was music going in the bathroom.
Oh, I love that.
If the dishes were being washed, there was music on.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I'm looking at this new magazine article coming out called Verdugo Chant that you made with our mutual friend Mirko and Colin Sussingham.
Yeah.
You want to tell me a little bit about the project?
So it's an interesting concept because, for one, I don't listen to music when I'm running, but I still hear music.
Mm-hmm.
I can still hear music through my steps or the elements around. Maybe it's birds chirping or the pattern that a rock is as it's falling down a trail. There might be a beat that's made from that. So I hear music in that way, but I don't run with headphones. And I do love trail dancing, if you will. And I love music, and I wanted to kind of bring the two worlds together and see what sort of introspection or what sort of meditation would come out of me listening to music and also exploring a trail. So that's where that came from.
I love especially here in LA, I love the airplanes overhead. Right. They're this kind of strange reminder of the mixture between like technology, transportation, and this like Eden type of environments that are around to run in. They're this odd reality check, because sometimes you'll be like I'll be like running on a ridge somewhere that's an hour out of LA and I can't see another person, but you're actually closer to the plains.
Right.
And like for me and for Windpipe, I feel like where those plains meet on those ridges is like really like a powerful connection.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, that's interesting because I've had those experiences where I'll be out there all alone sometimes on a trail, and I kind of get this overwhelming feeling of going back in time.
Mm-hmm.
And then
big time.
Yeah, and then,
old time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then a plane will remind me, wait a minute, there's been advancement.
For our audience, Rio is a amazing runner, trail dancer, friend of the brand. How'd you get started running, Rio?
It began in the high desert. It's just as a means of transportation, really. Yeah, my folks worked a lot, and I lived in Apple Valley, which at the time we would say up the hill or down the hill. And my folks worked down the hill, which was 3 hours down the hill to Los Angeles. So it's about a 6-hour round trip every day.
It's a long commute.
Yeah. So I I just ran everywhere, really. It started with basketball practice. I would run to basketball practice and run or walk home. But that's kind of where it all started.
Did you enjoy that mode of transportation?
I did. I found it easier than, I don't know, catching a bus or asking for a ride. It was, I was being self-sufficient, and I felt cathartic right from there. Like it just felt really good.
So you would run to basketball practice?
Yes, it was 10 miles.
Okay.
So it felt good. That was my base.
When you were running suicides at practice, it was probably nothing.
It wasn't too bad, no. And it's funny you brought up suicides. Like there was a time I was late and my coach made me run. But my coach never knew I was running to practice.
You kept it hidden.
Yeah, my coach never knew. My coach was one of my teammates' dad, and my teammate was my friend as well. But I was just like too ashamed to ask for a ride. So yeah, he just never knew.
He never knew.
No, he knew. He found out once, and he benched me. Like he lifted me up, told the whole team what I had done, and I was thinking in my head, I do this all the time. But he kind of brought in the team and was like, yeah, this is dedication. Rio ran to practice, and then the game came around. He was like, I got to bench you though. Like you were late to practice,
Kind of mixed messages, no?
Right. Yeah. So
did you run a lot in Angeles Crest as well? Did you run up the backside from Apple Valley?
No, I wasn't privy to Angeles Crest during that time.
Yeah. Mostly road stuff.
Well, no, where I was living in Apple Valley, there was a lot of the back desert zones.
Gotcha.
And I would mostly run that, which is it's pretty difficult to run that stuff. Like I've gone back to like Joshua Tree and that's not the easiest terrain to run on.
How so?
It's almost sandy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it's pretty choppy stuff. So
it's soft. You lose power.
Soft. Yeah, exactly. So,
and it's not a lot of shade.
Right. Full sun exposure.
Full exposure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Were there other people in your family who ran with you, or was that kind of something that you did on your own?
Yeah, no one ran, It was my own sacred thing. That's the deal now, really.
In some of our conversations, we spoke a lot about the state of mind when we're running and how it feels possible. And I know we've talked also about kind of different methods of recording ourselves or speaking aloud while moving, and the difference of those thoughts, the difference of that conviction, the difference of that ability to access thoughts that otherwise may seem disparate or hard to access. What do you think it is about running? And in particular, what do you think it is about running, the trails that provides an opportunity for a release, for an expression of otherwise a, compressed thought process for some of us?
Well, I never stretch before running. I will approach a trail and it will gradually loosen my muscles up and loosen everything up. It kind of lubricates everything. I believe that's the same thing that goes on with my soul is able to loosen up a bit and carry over messages to my mind as I continue to run and loosen up. It's almost a stretching of my body, my mind, and my soul. And things the clarity becomes a lot more loose and a lot more clear. The signal's a lot more clear when I'm in movement.
A systematic distraction, because you have a visual element. You kind of can't stop. Uh-huh. So, and you're almost like putting your mind not at ease, but you're doing something, right? And you're doing it over and over again. And it allows for, what's bubbling up there to emerge.
Absolutely. Yes. It's that, I guess, the mindful flow of seeing it, hearing it, allowing it to pass. That's the approach with me thinking about something or things becoming more apparent as I'm running.
Was there ever a time when you did run with your phone, or have you kind of always been cognizant of keeping those two things separate?
I've run with my phone in the earlier parts, but I just have this thing of not wanting anything on me, just being able to run free. Like I would run naked if I could. I would just,
you should.
I wish I could. I've tried on the treadmill before. It's not that fun, your junk kind of flying everywhere. But it's more of a thing of not wanting to carry something, to be able to just like exist with the natural elements. I feel like a phone's not really a natural element. I am though, So
you are. I also think it's a funny thing. I've been around situations where everybody is trying to conceal the iPhone in a pair of shorts or in a pair of elastic somethings, or in a pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had my phone on me and forgotten about it since I got a phone.
Yeah.
I think this is like this misnomer of the entire apparel industry that you can like make this thing disappear. It just never does. And the solutions that seem to work the best seem the grossest to me.
Yeah. Like
putting the phone as like gluing it to your thigh.
Right.
Like that's got to be really good for reproduction.
I know.
That's got to be really good for radiation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I often think about that.
I think about getting one of these Garmin watches. I see a lot of people out there with them. Seems like the people who have a good balance of what they're doing, that's what people are using.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's several tools. I used to be a Garmin heavy person.
What are you on now?
I rock the Coros.
Coros.
Yeah. And it's
Mark Nieto from Never Not Run also rocks the Coros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. It took me a while to get used to how to operate it. It's set up very different than the Garmin. And there's the strap. It feels like it's like a nice, it's not plastic.
What's it made of?
It's I don't want to get to lying here, but there's a Velcro element to it. It's more fabric. Yeah. It just feels nice. It reminds me of a watch maybe I had in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's just nice and light, and it's not super bulky. The Garmin's are like, they're a statement. It's it's massive,
Yeah. You can navigate yourself out of any situation.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
But you have to pay for the monthly service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I always think is pretty funny.
Right.
You were mentioning not stretching before running. I don't stretch either. Are there any other elements from your training routine or from your running routine that you want to share? Or
not really. It's one of those things where, well, this is my spirituality, this running thing, and I'm not a part of any sect or religious organization. I just follow my spirituality the way that it suits me, and everybody else can kind of figure that out for themselves. I think a lot of people get very caught up in what other people are doing before they run or during their runs and post run, when we're all individuals, and different things work for everybody else,
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful and well said. We were talking before we started recording about Bjork's debut.
Yeah.
And that possibly being another project for you coming down in the future. How does that feel for you?
That's an album that I've sat with again all my life. But back to me reviewing A Love Supreme, I had figured out new elements and heard new things and understood this album completely different from any other time. So I think, this project is like, it's a case study, if you will. Movement is the manifestation of the soul, but so is music. Music is the windpipe, if you will, of the soul. And, me trail dancing is another manifestation of the soul. So bringing those two together and listening and feeling, I'm just trying to figure out what my findings are. Even though I've sat with these albums numerous times, like, what am I going to discover?
I've really been tapering how much music I listen to when I run. And when I first started running in New York, I was like, Future, Uzi,
Turn
Aphex Twin, Kanye, Jay, Thug, all like all of this music. And I love Jeezy. I love the music so much. Dipset, like I love all of that music more than anything. And it would keep me going and build me up to a heroic crescendo.
Right.
And I would run faster. And I would break through whatever I needed to break through. And in that, I would finish the video game and I would finish it in first place.
Right.
Something I noticed as I got older was that it was also using a lot more energy to listen to that music and to go through that prescribed trail, right? Through that prescribed rhythm, through that selected, not prescribed, selected. It would take me, and I wasn't in control, and my surroundings were only part of it through like a visual aspect and a tactile one. But I wasn't hearing, I wasn't hearing the taxi cabs. I wasn't hearing the ferry. I wasn't hearing like the fishermen. I wasn't hearing the other runners. I wasn't hearing the corporate people playing kickball down by the East River. I wasn't hearing any of that. I was just listening to T.I. I was just listening to whatever, And I've been running less and less with music, and I've become running slower and slower and slower. But I've turned a corner and I'm running a little bit faster. But what's interesting about it is it's more dynamic. And I feel like I'm running more efficiently. And I feel like I'm running in real and running more. The ideas that I'm having are double-sided. I'm seeing risk. I'm seeing opportunity. I'm not just seeing heroics.
Right.
I'm not just hearing what you know about that horns, I'm not just hearing like Jay and Rihanna in New York. I'm not just hearing like, whatever the song is that's like, all right, it's, it's going to be okay. Like this is popping. This is the trail. Boom, 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 boom. These moves. Now I'm like, interesting move. Okay. And it's like, I hear the plane. Okay. I hear the horn. Okay. Now I hear the rattlesnake. All right, Rio. My dog's name is also named Rio. Rio, get over here. It's like, okay, there's this person who is like, put Rio on a leash. And I'm like, I don't want to put my dog on a leash, but I'm just going to keep running. Okay, cool.
Right.
And so I feel like I'm a better citizen when I run without music because I'm able to tune more into the landscape.
Right. Well, you're more mindful and aware.
Yeah.
Of all of the elements. Yeah.
And I feel like I'm more honest to using the energy that I do have.
Yes.
Because I'm not using it to peak.
Right.
I'm using it as like, I'm fully in acknowledgement of like the way back to the car, the way back to the house, the way back to camp or whatever it is. It's like, you see both sides. It's 360. It's not just like a speed train, Right. And it's powerful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. That's, with the project, the music review project that I've been embarking on, it's it's the one time I listen to music when I'm running. And yeah, I have noticed that extra oomph, you know, but I'm like, it's just, the music's just carrying me. I need to be able to carry myself, you know? So that's interesting that you're coming away from the music and your vitality it's slowly increasing, but you've had to kind of detox from listening to music for so long.
Exactly. Yeah. The 4 minute build up detox.
Yeah.
You know, like to whatever methods they use in those 4 minutes to build you up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at one of these pictures that Colin took, and I see from the bottom of it, it's the one where you're laying down and it's a sideways picture. I'm going to guess and say you're wearing a Merrell Fire something trail running shoe. Is that correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Do you have any specifics, favorite running shoes right now, favorite running shoes from the past, no running shoes for the future? Where are you at with shoes?
Man, I used to be so honed in on the shoe technology and what it does for me. And now I don't give a shit about any of that.
You don't care. You're over it. You could run in anything.
I can run in anything, and I can probably run in them for a long time. I'm just not the type of runner I was where I was like, I need to have 5 different shoes, 7 different shoes, 1 for each day, and have a heavy rotation. I just slip them on and go. You know, I don't do too many speed workouts these days. It's a lot of trail. And hell, the speed shoes that I have are pretty worn out. That's where I am. I'm just more and more embracing being a soulful runner. Now, a lot of people are going to cringe when they hear that. They're going to be like, you're setting yourself up for injury, blah, blah, blah. But I'm still aware of my body and how I need to land or how much, energy I need to expel. So, but yeah, I've been wearing Nordas like everyone.
001.
001?
Yeah.
The first?
Yeah.
It's the second one. The second.
Oh, you're wearing the one
with came out with.
They're a little thinner.
They're slightly thinner, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think? They're kind of like ultras, no?
No, I don't. Is it that much of a zero drop?
I think it is. I think
so maybe I have the first.
You have the first one.
Yeah, because I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to do zero drop. Or maybe I could in this stage of my running. We tend to get very influenced by what the cool kids are doing.
I listened to this thing with the guy who started Ultra on Rick Rubin's podcast this weekend at the dog park. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about heel striking.
Yeah.
And I remember Newtons and like you couldn't even strike your heel in them, Yeah. His thing right now is that heel striking's fine as long as your toes are splaying.
Okay.
And that it's more about the mechanics of your upper body and keeping your elbows from not passing your torso.
Wow. Okay.
And so I think this guy sold Ultra to VF Group and now makes like 10 toes and like weird running harnesses, and like everything he sells is under $50. Oh. And it's like these like really, really light, really specific things for basically changing your form rather than like, I'm going to put on this like super shoe and run like a 5:45 mile in my hero myth that I've created for myself. He's like, and it's kind of admirable. I wonder what his paycheck was from VF, but like,
yeah, seriously,
it's kind of cool. He has these like, harnesses that are just made from like, paracord or something. Mm-hmm. And, you're supposed to go like this. And, it does make a huge difference.
Absolutely,
and he's talking so much about how everybody thinks all your force is generated from your core and from your legs and stuff, but a lot of running is from your arms.
Your arms for sure. Yeah. That's interesting. I've evolved to, more of swinging my arms and kind of keeping my chest open. I don't have a need for speed, you know. I have a need for endurance and longevity. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll power up a mountain or I'll blast down a mountain, but the in between, I'm just keeping it steady and being light and just swinging those arms. He's right. I think he's right about engaging the core.
Yep. Especially going downhill.
Yeah.
That's how you save your knees.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
And keeping your head up.
Right. Keeping it up. It's like you almost, I've been told so many different things, but what works for me is it's essentially what he's saying. And I've just opened up a lot more. I'm not trying to look sexy anymore. When I'm running, you know what I mean?
You look pretty good when you run. I mean, truth be told, we did that run in Griffith with the USAL guys a couple of months ago. That was pretty cool. I don't usually run with a group.
Yeah.
And it was a new experience for me, and it's something that I want to do more of. Maybe this summer we can get together some groups and, like, I don't know, do Verdugo or something like that.
I'd love that. Yeah. That, you know, me becoming a guide for USAL was a big stepping point for me because I was so anti-group runs. Like, I just did not want to do the community aspect. I wanted to keep my runs sacred. If there's attachments in running, then I was the avoidant attachment runner.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, no, I don't want to get involved with community. And USAL just really pulled me out of that. And I'm way more welcoming. Now, I'm not going to join a massive Venice running group or something like that, but and I still feel that there is a difference between a group trail run versus, you know, some road stuff. There's still.
What do you think those elements are?
The earth. There's concrete. There's a disconnect. I feel like you're literally grounding yourself when you hit that soil. I feel like the attitude is, you get an attitude adjustment, if you will. And the challenges, not to say there's no challenges on the road, but it's the road. We're not climbing anything. I don't know. It's just feels like we're just going back into, it's always awesome too, to come out of the city and then go into the mountains and get that attitude adjustment, you know.
The altitude adjustment.
The altitude.
What do you think about, what did you notice? What did you hone in on about running in groups? Like, was it like a energy? Was it like, all right, I'm gonna run faster? It was like, I remember when we were running with you, you like came back and ran with me. I was all like very slow. And I really appreciated, you know, you coming back and stuff. Like, what have you noticed as far as like what you're gleaning from it, from like being around others and like, you know, being tolerant of different paces and whatnot? Like, what have you taken away? Because running solo is such a spiritual, like such a free expression. Like, how do you compare the two?
It's, the energy is insane because I make it a point to kind of go back and forth, and I will check in with everybody. Even if the last person is like, say they're 5 miles back, I'm still going to go back and check on them and go back to the first person. Like, I love to kind of gauge gather everyone's energy and also try to be an energy boost.
Definitely.
It's incredible. It's an incredible feeling to just get that energy and give that energy. Energy is just it's a fucking cliche word that everybody uses, but it's real. Like I feel it. I feel like I owe it to the participants to check in and make them feel at home and let them know that we're all going to get through this. You know, I couldn't be a guide that was just like up front and be like, all right, I'll see you guys at the finish. Like, it just doesn't feel right. So, and I love that energy. It's a big component of those USAL runs for me. You know, I've been more about these unsanctioned happenings. And that's actually something that I want to embark on. You know, I have this grand plan of doing something called Built to Thrill, which is the Canada border to the Mexico border on the West Coast. And it would involve trail runner, road runner, road cyclist, and gravel.
Gravel bike or gravel running?
Gravel bike. And so this would be a way of having cyclists and runners get together. You know, that's something that I've been trying to dream and scheme up for a while.
Sounds like your organization is becoming a bigger part of your headspace. Seems like things are getting, the group is growing, these ideas of organizing and sort of doing what you want to do with others, right, and sharing those experiences, like really percolating.
Absolutely. Yeah. Community is so important. Like getting out of being that recluse.
Right.
Yes, you are absolutely right. I've got lots of different visions outside of even the running space, but more so in the movement space, like highlighting everybody moves somewhere or form, you know? So that's also something I want to visit. It's like, how do we highlight the window washer? Or, you know, you see these guys doing these crazy large scale paintings, but we don't really hone in on how they're moving their bodies and the techniques. We hone in on what's called movement, the sport, the dancer, you know, but I really want to like highlight those folks.